Good morning. Welcome to Time in His Word. Have you ever given it much thought or wondered why maybe you as an individual, you're a fabulous carpenter? And yet me, I'm lucky if I can nail two boards together straight, and it might take me a while. I wonder why that is, or am I the only one that thinks of things like that? I wouldn't think that I am. I'm always marveled at somebody that can just take a pile of lumber and build whatever. When they get done, it looks fabulous. But yet other people with the same pile of lumber can try to do it, and it looks like a pile of lumber when they get done. But yet the first person did it without even any thought, just kind of looked at it, went, okay, and went to town. I was thinking about that. As a kid, we used to watch NASCAR. We only had 3 channels: ABC, CBS, and NBC. And we would only get to watch 1 or 2, maybe 3 races out of the year. And it was usually the bigger races like Daytona, Talladega, Charlotte, something like that. But what I liked about it was each team had their own car, and no 2 cars looked alike. Now, maybe 2 Ford Torinos would look alike because they're the same body style by the same manufacturer, but they didn't look like the Dodge cars, and the Dodge cars didn't look like the Torinos. And the other neat thing about it was, if your favorite driver had a car or drove for a manufacturer, you would buy a replica of a car that your favorite driver drove. So you could go down and buy a car similar to what any race car driver was doing. Now, it wasn't the same car on the inside, but on the outside, the body shapes were the same. And what I liked about that was each team was unique in that even though 2 car bodies might be the same, it wasn't a guarantee that if they found the secret, they was going to win every week. It still came down to individuals' knowledge, and with aerodynamics and physics and all that kind of stuff that played into it. But what I'm getting at is that it seemed to make the sport more enjoyable because you would really never know who was going to win. And I haven't watched NASCAR in a long time, a good number of years, because while the race might still be exciting, or the speeds they run at, to me it's boring. All the cars look the same. They all perform the same. And it kind of seems like anymore, if the first guy breaks or crashes, well then the second guy, now he's the first place guy until something happens to him. And what I'm getting at is each one of us is unique in our own special way. And that, just like I said, you might be a fabulous carpenter without a set of plans and look at a pile of lumber and build whatever you need to build, while I can look at the same pile of lumber and an hour later it's still going to be a pile of lumber, because it's just not in my makeup. It's just not something that I can do. What I like about that, in that scripture tells us, Jeremiah, at the beginning of the book of Jeremiah and the Old Testament, it gives the history of who he was related to and all of that stuff, all that boring stuff to me anyways. But then there might be people listening today that really get into the history of figures in the Bible and the reference and how they're referenced, but I don't. But what I want to get at is a verse this morning, and I've used it before in many different ways, but I thought today would really make you able to understand it even better than I have in the past. And that's in Jeremiah, the 1st chapter, verse 5. It says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you. I have appointed you a prophet to nations." Now, Jeremiah was a prophet, but what I like about it is the first part of that verse. It says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." So before God ever forms us, before our parents get together and start a family, God knew who we were and what our life was going to be like. Think about that. That's some pretty powerful stuff when you think about it. So then I'm back to that original question. Why is it some people can do some things and others can't do the same thing? Or why do some people never accept Christ and end up in prison because of murder or whatever crimes they committed, and another doesn't? To me, that part of it comes down to choice, because God gives us free will to choose to live how we want to live. But at the same time, He has a plan for us. It's just a matter of the choices we make in life. Just like the NASCAR cars I talked of the past. If you wanted to be a winning team, then you went out and hired the best mechanic that you could find, and you hired the best engineers you could find. You hired the best at what they were, so that your car would win the races. Well, like I said, nowadays they all look the same. NASCAR tells them what they're supposed to be. It took the fun out of it. To me, it took that individuality out of it. And that's kind of what I'm getting at this morning. We are, each and every one of us is unique in our own special way. Just like how I look at a verse and I'm able to see something in life that brings that verse alive. And I can do that without it comes easy to me. I asked my cousin about that one time, and she said she has no clue to do something like that. She couldn't do something like that. And I was like, well, it's easy. And she told me that's a gift. That's a gift from God. And I never look at it that way. I just look at it as something that I'm able to do. So this morning, as you go through the day, think about how unique you are to anyone around you. For instance, on the covers of my books, my sister-in-law paints those pictures for me, and her style is unique. There's not anybody that paints like she does. And we get together and I give her an idea of what I want, or I show her a picture of what I want, and then she takes and paints that for me for the cover of my book. That's her gift. That's her contribution to help me with my gift. So we work together. Just like the NASCAR teams of past, if they wanted to be the best, they went out and found the best, and then they worked together as a team to achieve the goal of winning a championship. Well, our goal as Christians is to lead others to Christ, and we do that by complementing each other with our gifts. Just like I said, my sister-in-law paints the covers for me. I'm able to write the devotions on the inside, and together we are trying to reach the world with the story of the good news that the Bible tells us about. So think about that today. Think about what your unique gift is that God has given you to further His kingdom, and think about how other Christians in your lives, or how you are friends with other Christians, how the two of you work together to share the word about the Jesus that we serve. Think about the unique gift that God has given you, and think about how, first off, are you using that gift that He has given you to further His kingdom? And if you are, isn't it pretty neat that you're unique and you're the only one that can do that? But together with another Christian, you're able to expand, and the two of you are now marching together to do the work of the Lord.